in the beginning we had Full Bay that came to us in Wedgeport, and they asked for an access into inside the 12-mile limit to help them in a fishery in their area that was depleted. And we entered into an agreement with them in DFO that there would be a narrow section up, my memory is correct, is somewhere up above part of B and A now. And that was entered into, and they fished it, and they came back and wanted more. One year we did grant them 200 ton with some signed agreements that we would enter into and do some, they would do some research and to determine what the impact was on the lobster. They went beyond even our consultation, and they went to the minister and got the whole area that we're now seeing as described as the L here, and it was all opened up against our opinion and advice. These people are coming, yes, asking for access into an area that they say is very wealthy with scallops. And it may be. But it's wealthy, we know, from logbook data with lobster. So there is the area that causes the concern.
This is not the first time that somebody's made a proposal to fish in this location. This area also had survey tows on it that were surveyed every year in the survey. And then people like me who didn't holler and scream to get removed. So this area is not in the survey anymore. It was our opinion that if you had this in the survey, it was just like putting candy in front of somebody. So don't even sample it, was our opinion. And those survey stations have been removed from the survey now.
I guess what I'm hearing is that really it's not an issue, this isn't a lobster fishery issue, it's a sustainability of the scallops issue. And it seems to me that another thing that before any expansion of that area is authorized, that a really good look be taken at what are ways of making that fishery sustainable. And I know, like for example, in closed area 2 on the U.S. side of Georges Bank, when they closed that, for after 6 years, there were 14 times the number of scallops that were before they closed it for 6 years. So some really looking at different ways of making sure that the scallop fleet is sustainable on its own ground so there isn't this constant gear conflict would probably be a really good step. You know, otherwise we're going to constantly face this issue, and it's going to come up year after year as scallop quota gets decreased. I mean, if you look at the catches in the all areas for SFA 29, they've gone down significantly. We know the issue was quota allocation at the RAP, so we know automatically what's going to happen is that the fleet's going to push for more quota. They're going to go to the minister because that's where you get quota. You don't get it at the RAP generally. Sometimes you do, it depends. Or you get it at the management meeting. But, you know, these issues are going to continue until we actually really deal with the issue of the sustainability of the scallop fleet. And I think it's certainly possible, but it's something that has to be looked at very hard because we don't want to lose that fishery, and we certainly don't want to lose the lobster fishery, and we don't want to continually have these conflicts which affect communities, among, you know, other things. And another commitment that we do have internationally, and we're not very good at living up to those, but we have a commitment to sustainable fisheries by 2015. And how do we reach that? How do we, I mean, why not start with this scallop fishery and figure out ways of closing core areas or having source areas? Maybe Lobster Bay is a scallop source area. You fish it, it's done. So yeah, we have to think about it in a broader way, otherwise we're going to keep having these conflicts.
Anytime you drag steel across something, you know what's going to happen. I mean, a blooming idiot would know what's going to happen. That's just a comment.
Apparently we got some here.
Excuse me?
Yeah, but we don't drag them. We don't tell them.
You don't tell them. Or it would not be. They pass the wrong way, you start telling them across the bottom.
The science now does their survey based on that bottom mapping. They know what type of habitat scallop live in. They're not going to bother surveying habitat scallop don't live in. And we're looking more and more at management based on habitat.
But the problem that I'm bringing up, Vance, is this. Men are not concentrating on areas that your bottom mapping shows that lobster scallops should live in. They're going everywhere else too. And that's the area, the premise that this bottom mapping came into us under was that they would be able to identify where scallops live, and thereby the scallopers could concentrate on that and stay away from the areas where the lobster live. That was the premise that was under.
And the bulk of the fishery does.
Well, Ashton says they're trying in other places, but, I mean, any fishery and any fisherman tries in all these places to find what he's looking for. I mean,
I agree.
yeah, and no fisherman, regardless what fishery he's in, when he tries an area and doesn't get anything, stays it. He moves. I mean, why would you stay and drag if all you got was rocks? I mean, I don't think there's much market for rocks.
We don't get part is in all due respect.
Yeah.
You know, and I respect you.
Yeah.
But the part comes into being, Reg, that you and I know, with all the money that was spent on doing this bottom mapping, so that we would be able to have a directed fishery here.
And of course, you've got to realize too, Ashton, that if they done that same kind of a thing for your fishery, there's still people in it going to say, well, I don't believe they all live there. I believe if I tried over here, I'd find some more.
But that's the problem that's
Yeah.
hurting us.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's the problem, that they're going into the areas that our species are conducive to, and that was the object of all of this exercise, was to stop that. That's what caused our concern.
But another thing has been mentioned, this is prime area for, I mean, the lobster's molting this time of year. And you can't say you're going to go in there drag when they're not molting, because we'll be there with traps. So it's a no-win situation. The lobster is, he's going to be targeted year-round.
The areas that were opened up to them and they're allowed in to fish, is it no more economically feasible for them to fish those areas? Is that why they're looking for this new bottom to fish?
Well, last year the quota in Area 29, okay, the fishing area, that ale was 400 tons the year before. Do you remember, Maureen, how the quotas, I forget, my memory, you know. 600. So 255, 600, 400, 250 again. And the numbers are based on the post-season surveys. Like after the fishery, there'll be a science boat go in, do some surveys, and then there'll be a whole series of calculations done on what the percentage quotas, based on risk.
So they pretty well can come and drag like what they dragged last year and still probably make a living, right? I mean, I've never been scalloping, so I don't know if they just wipe some out and you have to wait that many years for them to come back or what. But I mean, what's wrong with? I mean, they got a section of our bottom in our area to fish. I mean, we met eye-to-eye with them somewhat that way. Why do they keep pushing for more area? Why aren't they just happy with what they have and leave some areas protected to our lobster fishery? Like, why can't they just leave some of it alone? I mean, why do they have to have it all? Eventually they're going to be after, like, every piece of bottom that's out there. I mean, why can't they just fish what they're fishing? Why aren't they happy with that? Why are they looking for more?
Well, I guess they're fishermen and you want to catch the most you can.
Yeah, but there's
So after this consultation, are you and A, or whatever, the PFO, going to go back and give them what it said here, an absolute no? Are we going to be able to pick up a paper and say, okay, a statement from you saying, okay, we consulted with the fishermen, and there's an absolute no?
I don't hear a lot of support from the LFA 34 Shelburne County community for access to north of Area C and D.
No support, not a lot. No.
I think we should make a vote, so I want to make sure you take this the right way. If you're going to take all this to Halifax, I want to make sure, I want to make a motion that we do not have no scallop dragging in that area, period.
The proposed area.
The proposed area, and if somebody wants to make a motion.
Second.
Vote on it. We want to take a true thing. Don't say, well, I think we would put two votes.
I'm being diplomatic. So all in favor? Raise your hand because of...
All in favor of what?
All in favor of no access.
Gotta be careful, we can bring more.
All opposed, all Well, it doesn't matter. I'd say contrary minded, but